And TGIF, everybody. Welcome into the First Call podcast. Jeremy Plonk here alongside Scott Shapiro. First Bet and Express Bet representing here, and we're going to handicap some stakes races for Saturday as we do each and every week here on the podcast. But before we get to Saturday, we've got a little $211,000 carryover for Friday at Keeneland. So we're going to call it an extended weekend. Hell, it's been an extended weekend since last Sunday at Keeneland, Scott.
It has. We got the Bluegrass on Tuesday. We got the Ashland on Monday, and we've been rolling ever since. I know probably crept a little bit into your sleep time and family time with all the work you do with
Yes.
Keeneland in addition to us. But yeah, the pick six is not only a good and sequence because of the carryover and the quality of racing, but there's a great one in there. Not necessarily a race where I think there's a lot of opportunity, but maybe Carl Spackler is a horse that you can single and look elsewhere. I know maybe you gave a couple others consideration.
I thought Integration had a shot from off the pace because I think it's going to be a heated pace in there. I wouldn't go any deeper than those two in today's Maker's Mark Mile. But that's Keeneland for Friday. We'll talk about Keeneland for Saturday and other stakes races around the country. Let's, for the benefit of those of you on our audio channels, run down the list of 8 races that Scott and I will be handicapping over the next half hour or so. From Keeneland on Saturday, it'll be the Jenny Wiley and the Lexington Stakes co-featured on the program. At Oaklawn Park, we'll look at the Count Fleet and the Horse of the Year, Torpedo Anna and the Apple Blossom. To Aqueduct we go for the Top Flight. And at Laurel Park, a trio of stakes races in Maryland on Saturday, the Heavenly Cause, the Primanetta, and the Frank Whiteley Stakes. If you like playing in big money handicapping tournaments, one of the biggest on the calendar this Saturday, the Grade 1 Gamble. It's at Keeneland. It's on track, but you can also play it online at expressbet.com. So if you're not making your way to Lexington and you want to play in the big tournament this Saturday, expressbet.com, you're home online for the Grade 1 Gamble. Be sure to check that out. Okay, Scott, let's get right to it. Let's get handicapping Saturday's card at Keeneland. We're going to start in race number 9. The Jenny Wiley will be the 10th. But first up is the Lexington in race number 9. 20 points to the Kentucky, to 20 points for the Kentucky Derby to the winner of this race. That probably won't be enough to get in the field regardless of who wins this particular spot. So let's just look at this race as what it is. A good middle distance, 3-year-old race. And most of these horses are up-and-coming types in here. Mile and a 16th, the trip. They'll end at the 16th pole finish line. How do you see the Lexington shaking out?
Yeah, I looked at this race, and I'm assuming Rolando is going to be coming out after running last week. But if not, that adds some speed to things. But, regardless, I think there's 2 horses, and you mentioned up-and-comers. I think there's 2 horses that you could argue might be amongst the top 15, 20, maybe even better 3-year-olds in the country. They got off to late starts to their 3-year-old campaign, one of them being Bullard, who I think will be a little bit lower than his 9-2 price for Michael McCarthy, who obviously has the favorite right now in journalism. But I think Prater is going to be a tough customer in here. Does have to prove himself at the 2-turn distance still. His win last out was, again, at 1 turn. But this is a horse that has the recency edge over Bullard. Bullard hasn't raced since early January. And it looks to me like Prater might be another shot for Chad Brown in the Preakness Stakes. I haven't heard him say that, just to guess if he runs well in here.
Yeah, and Chad's had some success going to the Preakness in recent years with horses that weren't in the Kentucky Derby. Could Prater be his next? He looked good last time.
They move by 3/4 in 1:10 3. It's all Prater. Prater off the turn now, asked to quicken, and he's quickening in kind, opening a 5-length lead on the others who just cannot stay with him. It's Prater. He's by Into Mischief out of a locally based Curlin's Approval, and he's a long-gone winner to start the late pick 5, or rather the coast-to-coast pick 5 and the late double. Prater and a jog. Kinetic Control second.
So will Prater be able to stretch out around 2 turns from that 1-turn mile? We'll find out. Same question with Bullard. I think there's a decent amount of speed in this race, and it has been the case in the Lexington over the years. So if you want to get a little funky and look at history in this race, I kind of call this the meltdown derby. This is all the horses who can't run that far for the Kentucky Derby a lot of years showing up in this spot. And we've had a lot of pace meltdowns in this race over the years. Unless there's a really good Brad Cox horse, a First Mission, a horse like that, who goes on and turns out to be a good one on the front end. This race is set up for some closers over the years at some nice prices. I'm going to give Hypnus a look in here for that reason. This is a horse who is going to get a new jockey. We don't know if Luis Saez will be back from his injury from earlier in the week. Saez named to ride. Brian Hernandez, his normal rider for Kenny McPeak, of course, has a date with Torpedo Anna in Arkansas. But Hypnus is a horse with some talent from off the pace, and if this race melts down, he's the one I'm going to put in there. So give me Hypnus in there with full respect, though, for Prater as the horse to beat in the Lexington Stakes. Let's move to the Jenny Wiley, race number 10 on Saturday. You want to play a daily double, perhaps? Races 9 and 10, back-to-back. Low takeout, 15% doubles at Keeneland, so not a bad wager in that respect. To the 10th we go, the Jenny Wiley, and there's a lot of foreign influence in this race, Scott, with Excellent Truth, Choisha, Jabara, all coming in from overseas and making their U.S. debuts. Some still with the European connections, like Simon Crisford and Roger Varian. Excellent Truth moves to the Chad Brown barn. All Chad's done is win the Jenny Wiley the last 3 years and 5 of the last 6. So are we just taking Excellent Truth and trusting Chad Brown in whatever he puts in the Jenny Wiley?
It's hard not to take that angle, especially when you look at the fact that they spent almost 1.7 million. That is Resolute Racing and one John Stewart just in December to acquire this one and bring her over here. The last out victory or the last out runner-up effort in the pre-Rothschild. I watched my first ever pre-Rothschild coming in to prepare for this race and ran well. I mean, ran second with along an inside trip to, I don't want to try to pronounce the winner of the race, but the winner.
Marquise de Savine, I believe.
Okay, Marquise was the rate. Okay, maybe it's just an abbreviation that they've used everywhere. But 8 for 18, that was the third win in a 4-race win streak. So a legitimate animal, obviously losing to a grade 1 in animal in French. I only watched the race in French, so I didn't even get to hear their names. But Excellent Truth is obviously the one to beat. I thought maybe you get the jump on her. I don't think it is a grade 1, but maybe a lot to ask off the bench, although Chad Brown runners usually are ready to fire when they're first off the bench. But Kehoe Beach, class test, but she could be loose and lonely on the lead, and when she has been, she's been very tough to catch.
I saw it the exact same way. I thought she's loose on the front end here, and you remove all the variables. Frankie Dettori fooled everybody last year on the front end with Buta Cache in this race and paid a $50 mutual in the front end. You're not going to get $50 on Kehoe Beach, but should be a square price in here for Wesley Ward. Let's go back and watch her when we last saw her in the Mrs. Revere in November at Churchill.
Kehoe Beach has had everything her own way, and she's still in front by 2 with a furlong to go. Pounce and poolside with Slim. Manushka clear sailing now, but Kehoe Beach got the jump when clear by 2, and it will be Kehoe Beach, wire to wire. Kehoe Beach, the winner in the end.
Mrs. Revere to Kehoe Beach. That's our pick. Scott and I both together in the Jenny Wiley. To Oaklawn Park we go on Saturday for a pair of stakes, the Count Fleet and the Apple Blossom. Of course, the Count Fleet, named for 1943 Triple Crown winner. The Count Fleet Stakes a sprint at 6 furlongs here at Oaklawn Park. And look, grade 3 company in here, and this is a good field. You've got horses like Anarchist, who's a grade 2 winner overall. You've got Booth, who's coming off one of the more impressive sprint races we've seen so far this year in the Whitmore last time. And before that, ran fast in the Commodore Stakes. He's really coming on. Steve Asmussen's had such a good run in this race. He won it in 22 with Jackie's Warrior. He won it in 23 and 24 with Skelly. Skelly's coming back and running today at Oaklawn. Asmussen has so many good sprinters, he didn't even need to bring the 2-time defending champ of this race back in order to have the favorite. He's got Booth. How good is Booth right now, Scott?
Better than Skelly, in my opinion. I think Skelly was more of a beat up on some bad horses, and well, we don't know it yet, but my guess is beat up on some bad horses. Then when he moved up in class, he was fine. He was a very fast horse. I think Booth is really moving forward at a nice pace, and I'm not pretty obvious statement. I mean, the last 2 races have been the pure Steve Asmussen building a horse up and getting him to be at his best at this point. You mentioned the record with him in his in this race in sprints in general. This horse has been great at Oaklawn, and you look around, and the only speed that I see that can really keep up with them at this point in their career might be a stablemate Rivet, who I don't even think can. There's no way Keith Asmussen's dueling with his son Eric, and I don't think he's as fast enough anyway. I think he just goes to the front once again and never looks back, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think he goes wire to wire in here and guts the speed. Maybe a horse can come along and get a piece here. I think Devil's Tower is going to get a nice trip on the inside and maybe get up for second in here at a price. So I went in the Express Bet Race of the Week with the Exacta Cold in here. We're going to get a price horse, hopefully, in Devil's Tower underneath Booth. I went for the 3-1 Exacta. But if Booth runs that Whitmore Stakes back, not going to matter who's in who is he up against on Saturday.
Booth into the turn, sails 2.5 ahead. Close the game, Sugar in chase mode second. Giant Mischief in third on the inside in a little bit of a tight spot. He's sent along hard now. Happy is a choice in fourth. He's now 5 lengths off of Booth, who wings it on the lead. Jackson Traveler has given way to Hano Twist. He's fifth right now. He's out of last, getting to the outside, but has a lot of work to do. Top of the lane, Booth cuts the corner, opens up 2.5 now. Giant Mischief is second and coming after him. Happy is a choice, grandstand side. It's Booth with a furlong to go. He's got a 3-length lead. Giant Mischief trying ever so hard, but Booth just keeps going. Back-to-back huge efforts for Booth, and Booth wins the Whitmore. A hat trick for Eric Asmussen today.
Arguably, that was a tougher field than what he's going to face in this one. So I think he's in really good shape. Another filly who should be in good shape on Saturday at Oaklawn is the one and only Torpedo Anna, reigning horse of the year. She rolled in the Azeri Stakes at 1-9 odds, 10 cents on the dollar. She's going to be an absolute max favorite again here in the Apple Blossom Stakes that didn't get much tougher. I mean, there's 7 in here. There's a couple real fillers in this race. This is a field that Torpedo Anna just completely has over the barrel, right?
Yes, and this is a filly that I was a big fan of early on in her career, and then I've somehow people have turned me into an enemy because I've been critical of how she's had easy leads in her last couple of starts against suspect fields. Well, maybe she won't have an easy lead with Wild About Hillary to her outside. I don't think it matters, though, because she's not a need the lead type when she races against horses at this level. Where's My Ring put up a couple of big figures in her career. She would be the one that I think people might try to beat her with. The problem is every time she moves up into a class like the Torpedo Anna's type, she gets drilled. So it seems like Where's My Ring is a little bit outclassed. Maybe you can try to beat her for second, looking for some value in here, but no desire in this case to try to beat Anna.
Yeah, Free Like a Girl took a shot at her last time, came up second best. She's so admirable, 21 for 49, the Louisiana bred. So, yeah, an easy horse to root for. If it's not Torpedo Anna in this race, certainly Free Like a Girl is one that you can kind of put your emotion behind. But when you're putting your dollars out, I don't see Torpedo Anna getting beat in this spot. Let's go back and take a look at the Apple Blossom, or the Azeri Stakes, the prep for the Apple Blossom, where she was in fine fettle.
Torpedo Anna still in front of deck. Free Like a Girl attempting to make a race of it. Torpedo Anna coming to the top of the lane. A neck in front of Free Like a Girl, who's right there. Torpedo Anna off the turn. Free Like a Girl still trying in second. Torpedo Anna. Brian Hernandez Jr. asks her to go, and just look at her go. She hits the furlong pole, accelerates, opens up 3. Torpedo Anna just gliding over the Oaklawn soil today, and she is back, and she is back in business. Torpedo Anna wrapped up to win the Azeri, kicking off her 4-year-old season.
Hard to believe Brian Hernandez Jr. is giving up the mount on a Hypnus in the Lexington to go ride her on Saturday. That's my sarcastic point for the day. Let's shift gears from Oaklawn, where it looks like two very
mount.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It looks very chalky at Oaklawn, to say the least. So let's head our attention now up to the Northeast. We're going to go to Aqueduct next for Saturday's feature race in New York. It's the Top Flight Stakes. Top Flight Invitational at 1 1/8 on the main track. 1 lap around the big oval there in Ozone Park. A field of 6 lined up in this one. Alpine Princess is a 4-5 morning line favorite for trainer Brad Cox. Is it Alpine Princess, or can we find an upset here after having some chalk at Oaklawn?
Well, I'm going to, try to beat this filly who has disappointed backers in 2 of her most 3 recent starts at odds on. So there is room to believe that it's feasible. In fact, she did so over this racetrack, 3 back in the grade 3 Comely when she was 3-5 and lost by a head. Kind of has a little bit of camera shy in her. So I'm going to hope to get the jump on her with number 5, Fade to Gray. Obviously moving up in classes, this Todd Pletcher filly, but you get Kendrick Carmouche on board. And I think there's not a ton of speed in here. You've got Elliptic to the inside. That's my concern, but I'm hopeful that that one will be ridden maybe not as aggressively as Carmouche rides Fade to Gray, and she can get to the front and hold off her main rivals.
She won at this mile and an eighth trip, 2 starts back on an off track. Let's go back and take a look at that one. Fade to Gray, Scott's minor upset pick here in the top flight.
Very game there is Fade to Gray as they reach the top of the stretch, and Fade to Gray is finding more right now. It's Fade to Gray. Points is Points. Now straightens up here in the stretch, and Points is out in the center of the racetrack. Over on the rail there is Fade to Gray. The front two still go at it for a final furlong. Points is just trying to get the advantage. Fade to Gray is not going anywhere. Comes back towards the inside. A final 16th to get. Points is Fade to Gray one final time. These two down to the line. It's a photo finish. Fade to Gray to the inside.
Fade to Gray got it that day, on a gray on a rainy day. In fact, we'll see if we get a little bit better weather in New York on Saturday. Scott's top pick there in the top flight. To Maryland we go for Laurel Park Stakes Trio on Saturday. It's the Heavenly Cause in race number 6, going a mile here for $100,000. Stakes races will be the 6th, 7th, and 8th on the card. So a natural all stakes pick 3, if you will, at Laurel Saturday. 1/3 mile races at Laurel Park finish at that second finish line. So it's a really extended long run through the wire. You got to do your work in the stretch there at Laurel Park to win these kind of races. Who's going to get home first, Scott?
Well, it doesn't really give me total confidence knowing that you've been to Laurel Park far more frequently than me in your life. But I really like the way this filly Take the Money Honey ran last time. She's had 2 starts coming in against lesser competition, the Maryland bred for Michael Moore. Easy wins. And then last time she stalked just off the pace, put away a 7-5 favorite in that race, stretching out for the first time, moving up into open company, and almost held off Catherine Wheel, who is cross-entered in this race and also in the top flight. But Take the Money Honey to me is a filly with a lot of talent. She meets some tougher customers in here, but I think she's got a lot of ability, and I want to hope that she can get to the front and never look back.
Let's take a look at that race last time out where Catherine Wheel and Take the Money Honey, who could potentially rematch in here, were going at it at the Big A.
Catherine Wheel is ranging up to the outside for Cancel. It's these 4 right now at the top of the stretch. Take the Money Honey is in front. It's Take the Money Honey who now straightens up and sprints for home. In full pursuit is Grammy Girl. Catherine Wheel is on the grandstand side, starts to make up some late ground. Take the Money Honey, but with every single stride, here comes Catherine Wheel to the outside. Take the Money Honey is looking for the line. Catherine Wheel is lunging late. These two down to the line. It's a photo finish. Catherine Wheel to the outside. Take the Money Honey in a tight photo. Then came Grammy Girl.
I like Royal Spa in this particular spot. Second time in for Rudy Persay. This horse came in for the Barbara Fritchie on President's Day weekend and ran a good second over 7/8 of a mile to a good win in Irish Maxim that day. So she returned to win. Royal Spa gets the second trip over the track, and again, extended run. The Barbara Fritchie at 7/8 of a mile ends at the traditional finish line. These mile races go to the second pole finish line, almost to the clubhouse turn, and that extra stretch run I think could be helpful in here for Royal Spa, who could really fit in these races. Ran a good 1-turn mile in the Chaluki at Churchill Downs, kind of a similar kind of deal here with even more stretch to work with. So give me the 8 Royal Spa here in the Heavenly Cause. That's the 6th on the card at Laurel Park. To the 7th we go, the Premonetta Stakes, 6 furlongs here for filly and mare sprinters in this particular spot. Premonetta worth $100,000. Field of 7 in here. We've got the defending champ Disco Ebo. Won this race a year ago and comes back looking for a second trophy.
Between them, the half mile went 46 and 1 into the stretch. A furlong left to go. Disco Ebo outside. Here comes Center Court Champ. Center Court Champ has kick on the outside. Disco Ebo holding firm at the rail though. Disco Ebo just in front. Disco Ebo, Center Court Champ on the outside. Disco Ebo and Sheldon Russell in the Premonetta. Over Center Court Champ to win by some 2 lengths and anonymously and Beneath the Stars.
Now, if this horse is going to win, Disco Ebo goes wire to wire. There's really not a whole lot of in between with that runner. Hasn't had a lot of victory since last year's race, so probably susceptible here in the title defense. Who beats her?
Well, I think there's a lot of speed, and that was a 4-horse field she beat last time and did so in front-running fashion, like you mentioned, JP. I think she's going to have to deal with a lot of other speed. There's some real speed, and then there's some tactical speed, and not a lot of horses that really want to sit and relax. For that reason, I'm taking a swing. I don't know if this mare wants to sit and relax either, but she's won 7 of 14 in her career. She's for a barn and Justin Nixon, who took over training duties for Safi Joseph. Nixon, obviously not the known commodity that Safi is, but 22% win rate, 44% in the money over a 63 start sample size. dating back to last year. So a small barn. So you know that they're making well-calculated decisions based on, there's few runners with where they go. And I just have a feeling that maybe this mare is going to get overlooked because of her lack of success or really experience much on the main track. And she definitely has the will to win. Hopefully she can get that trip that I'm hopeful for. That's definitely a bit of a guess.
To the outside, the 7 Tipple, 3-1 in the morning line. Probably goes favorite in here for Linda Rice because she just seems to take money when she ships horses to Maryland. For good reason, she's got the reputation in New York, but the Maryland horses tend to underperform when she brings one down. So I would be against Tipple in this spot. First Lady Rosalind could be one that, takes some action in here as well. Brittany Russell trains this one. First start in a stakes for that one, but has won 2 allowance races dating back to November at Penn National. But again, not one you have to jump on. It's more a connections bet, I think, for people in this particular spot.
Yeah, no doubt. And just to piggyback on Tipple, that was the filly that made sense to me at first. Obviously, on paper, looks good. You mentioned Linda Rice. Rode a good rail last time at Aqueducts. Had a little time off. As you mentioned, Linda not as good in numbers here in Maryland. So I thought very vulnerable as well at 3-1.
All right, let's go to the Frank Whiteley Stakes, named for the trainer of the Great Ruffian. The Frank Whiteley, 7 furlongs here. Scott has been chomping at the bit all morning to get to the Frank Whiteley, so I'm glad we got here to the final on the card for our handicapping. Field of 6 in here. Worcester is the 7-5 morning line favorite. This is a former West Coaster with Bob Baffert. SF Racing and Company owns this one. A lot of the horses who haven't been able to cut it on the West Coast end up with Brittany Russell here in Maryland. Worcester, another in that transfer portal mode of today's college athletics.
Yeah, and oftentimes I try to beat those transfer portal. I don't know what kind of nil money these horses are getting, but usually I try to beat, and I looked around because there's not a ton of speed in here, but when you look at it, it's a 7-furlong race, and there's so little speed that I just think Worcester is going to be dragged into the race. Used to have more speed, hasn't shown it since swapping barns and coming back off the long layoff, but has won 2 of 4 since moving into the barn, as fits well on this circuit, obviously, with 2 of 3 wins in a second. And it's not a creative opinion. I'm not overly excited about it where I'm going to rush to the window to single in sequences, but it just looks like he's the one to beat in this field.
Coming off a second in the stymie last time out. Let's take a look at Worcester on the road.
To go, Manny Franco looking all over, and Bank Frenzy now kicks away. It's Bank Frenzy trying to run away and win it right now. Coastal Mission is chasing from second. Worcester from out of the pack is running on late. Also from far out of it, Curbstone. Bank Frenzy, though, has a furlong left to go, has a 3.5 length cushion. Worcester is now chasing, but running out of time inside the final 16th. Confidently handled, and Bank Frenzy dominates here in the stymie. Worcester second, Coastal Mission, and Curbstone in 1:40.1.
Same connections as Worcester. Also have New King entered in this spot. Might be a backup plan. This is another Baffert transfer. Last seen running up the track in the Santa Anita Handicap. But no rider name there. Usually with no rider name, it's kind of a tip that they don't plan on running unless maybe Worcester were to come out. So maybe this horse was to help fill the field, only 6 entered. But we'll see if New King stays in the lineup or not. Santa Anita Handicap all of a sudden becoming a key race, though, as Hit Show came out of that dull third in there to win the Dubai World Cup. So we'll see if New King makes his debut in Maryland. He's there training on the grounds and entered in this spot. But again, last seen in the Santa Anita Handicap. He's entered as one of 6 in the Frank Whiteley. That's going to wrap up our handicapping for a quick edition, the express edition here of the First Call podcast. Look, there are better weekends of racing in terms of stakes. There's great gambling this weekend when you think about the action that's going on around the country. There's just not many big stakes races this weekend. And the ones that we do have seem to have some very standout favorites, particularly at Oaklawn Park on Saturday. So we'll have more meat on the bone here in the coming weeks for sure on this particular show. Great gambling this weekend, though. Mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six coming up on Sunday at Gulfstream Park. They're up to about $500,000 in the carryover going into Friday. We need 2 more carries on Friday and Saturday to get to just a blockbuster on Sunday. Scott, I know you'll have that Sunday analysis set for the blog section at expressbet.com and at news.first.com for when it's ready to roll on Sunday morning. So a lot of work still to do this weekend for our handicap.
Without question, dove into the sequence before we started. It's pretty challenging. Some decent races towards the backs a couple of allowance, couple turf race, a couple maiden races. But yeah, you mentioned it. The stakes races isn't where the meat on the bones necessarily in the gambling. But I thought the early sequence on Saturday at Keeneland was outstanding. Lots of wide open races there. And Friday's card at Keeneland, maybe you won't see it in time, but an equally as fun card, especially with the pick six carryover.
All right. On behalf of everybody with Express Bet and First Bet, my partner this week, Scott Shapiro, and our longtime partner, Jeff Siegel, hope to have him back soon. Have a great weekend, and everybody. Take down the pick six Friday at Keeneland, and then again on Sunday, hit the rainbow just for good measure at Gulfstream Park. We'll be back on Tuesday when we wrap it all up for the weekend on the It's Official podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody.